Hello and welcome to episode 83. Do you see how I always look when I come in, but when I hit record, I've still got to look again?
Yes.
83?
83.
Good morning. How are you, sir? How's your week?
Absolutely fantastic. Silly busy again, but I think that's the norm nowadays, isn't it?
I ran past you at speed yesterday enjoying the VE Day celebrations.
You did. I was like, oh, look, there's Adam. There's bye-bye, Adam.
Yeah, I did wave.
I did wave.
Did you have cake?
I had lots of cake. I made a poppy.
Did you? Oh, yes. Yeah.
Made a poppy. So me, Dan,
that was with Donna, wasn't it?
Donna.
We got some photographs of Donna.
So good. Good. Where were you off to, my friend?
I was off to take photographs of VE Day celebration for press. It was at E.D. Walker Trust, is what I want to say, the care home on the side. But, well, I say care home, it's not. There's loads of properties. It's fantastic. It was amazing. But they were determined to give me cake. Very anti-training aligned. It's probably what I'd say. Sorry, I'm going to have to take my jacket off. I'm also going to hit the TV. Yeah. I've just been swimming and I've literally leapt out the pool and come, so I'm still cooking a bit. But yeah, so I was there, VE Day celebrations, they were amazing. Got to interview some individuals about their memories. They were children during VE Day.
Oh, wow.
And they were telling me all about when they were in school when it got announced, apparently, and they went in the playground and all threw the gas masks away. Sort of thing. So, yeah. And there was other amazing things. So, yeah. Even including Churchill tanks rolling around Darlington.
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, exactly. So there we go.
So apart from that, how's your week been?
My week's been good. Very good. Busy. Very good. But, yeah, enjoyable. We've got two people sat here.
Two lovely ladies.
We have. Good morning. How are we? Introduce yourselves.
Yes, so go for it. Who are you? Where are you from?
Good morning. My name's Annemarie Vendy, and I'm the branch manager for Darlington Helping Hands, which is a domiciliary care company.
And you are?
And I'm Kate. I'm afraid I'm the care coordinator for Helping Hands in Darlington.
Oh, lovely. So, Annemarie, Kate, what does Helping Hands do in a nutshell?
We support people to remain in their home.
Right.
Safely, maintain their independence and prevent people maybe having to go into care homes and things like that.
Oh, that's a lovely thing to do, because obviously going into a care home for anybody at that age, whatever, it's a huge decision. And I assume from your experience, trying to be careful what I say here, it's a difficult decision. Some people would like it, some people don't want to do it, they want to remain at home, and obviously you concentrate on that aspect then.
Absolutely. The majority of our customers do want to stay at home.
Yes.
You know, may have lived in their home for many years, been super independent, and our organisation supports them to stay at home for as long as possible, for as long as it's safe.
Yeah, there must be, again, without being disrespectful, there must become a point where it's like, you really need care home, 100% of the time type thing, around the clock. But
absolutely.
That must give your people, your customers, for want of a better word, must give them a fantastic sense, as you said, of independence.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're fairly proud of it?
Oh, massively proud of it.
Good.
I just think it's very fitting because you've sorted this out, and it's like VE Day, and I was in yesterday interviewing people about VE Day.
You see how I work?
That's very clever. Yeah, I'd like to say you're very clever, but this is completely accidental.
It was. but the moment of me...
But well done you. Yeah, absolutely.
It was a complete accident.
So I've seen you around the building.
Yeah.
Coming and going constantly answering phone calls.
Yeah.
All the time answering phone calls. Either you're spies or you're dealing with lots of different stuff. What sort of stuff are you dealing with on a day-to-day basis?
There is a lot of firefighting that goes on. Obviously, we not only support the customers, we have a care staff team.
Right.
So we have the regular care staff things that we have to deal with every day. Right. So staff management, maybe absence and things like that. Also, a vast majority of our customers are elderly. So sometimes there are issues or concerns, safety issues. Somebody might be poorly and things like that. So we deal with that a lot.
A lot of verbal support, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially when we're on the telephones, that, either the carer or the customer will ring, and they don't necessarily need physical support. They just need that ear at the end of the telephone.
Of course. Yeah. Exactly.
But we have new customers.
Oh, right. Okay,
so, sometimes the phone calls are people inquiring about the services that we provide.
Yeah.
But mostly, I would say that the telephone calls are between care staff asking a question,
Yeah.
or the customers, the current customers.
Right. Okay, then that's interesting.
Their phone never stops ringing.
No, I know. Literally,
See,
we
always
used
busy.
to be on floor 2, right next to them.
But you had to move because of all the phone calls.
No,
right?
God, no. But I remember when I was coming out and either making the tea or on the way to the customers, literally just a hive of activity. There's never a dull moment. Every time.
Even last night, Kate answered the phone at 1 o'clock in the morning
Oh, bless
to a
you.
customer who was a little bit confused, I think, about the time.
Yes.
But the staff and the customers can get us 24 hours a day if they
Absolutely.
need us.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a real testament to this. So how many people are there in, I mean, obviously there's only, four of you or 5 of you at one time upstairs, but how many of the completely?
So there's 4 in the branch team
Yep.
based here. We have around 35 care assistants
Gosh, right.
and we have around 90 customers.
And that's literally just this branch.
That's
the
just
Darling-
us.
Is that Darlington area then?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
that-
actually, we've just kind of incorporated North Allerton
Right, okay.
area.
Yeah.
Right.
And Kate is better with areas.
It's quite wide. So we go literally from North Allerton, Osmotherley, all that area, right the way through to Darlington, Middleton, St George, Herworth, all of
Yeah.
them. Then we go the other way. So we then got Middleton Tyres and Barton, Stapleton, all that area. And then we go the other way and we've got Newton Aycliffe, Hindon, all Middleton.
So just a very
It's-
small patch
Just
then.
a very
Yeah.
And we have little we have groups.
Yeah, but you've got a mix of towns, not cities, but towns,
Villages,
rural,
yeah,
villages,
rural.
hamlets.
Yeah.
And it can
Yeah.
be, I mean, we started 4 years ago, Kate and I, with no customers and no care assistants because it was a new branch 4 years ago. 4 years ago in March. So it actually can be quite difficult having such a large patch because as the customers, you have to balance it up. So if a customer comes on board for Newton Aycliffe, first customer, then the second customer comes on board for Middleton Tyres.
Yeah, completely the opposite.
Yeah. So it's then managing. Kate is a wizard, can I just say, with the rosters and coordinating. But it can be difficult.
Yes.
The carers have
To
to have
retain,
faith.
they
Yes.
do, to retain the care assistants. However, we're very proud because the very first care assistant that we took on, we still have. And
Chained to the desk.
Yes,
You're not going
absolutely.
anywhere.
We have your
But
phone
in
number.
social care, retention isn't very high because
No.
there's so many jobs out there.
Yes.
So we actually use that as a unique selling point
Oh, absolutely.
when we speak to potential customers.
I mean, she
Right.
came with one customer. She had
did.
one customer 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And then
she
we built it up.
Yeah.
Built it up. So you were saying that this is the Darlington branch. How
Yes.
many other branches of Helping Hands is there?
I think there's around 250
Goodness me.
across the UK.
Wow.
The only place, that's Wales as well.
Yeah.
There's nothing in Scotland yet.
Right, but that is on the
I'm
cards.
sure it will
We
be.
go
it
as
is,
far
Yeah.
as sort of Cramlington, isn't it? That's as high up.
as you go.
Yeah.
along.
Also, there's something really big happened this year because previously there was 2 sides to Helping Hands.
Right.
There was the hourly visiting, which Kate and I work in, and then there was living.
Right.
So a few months ago, back into last year, they decided to merge the 2, as in they had their own departments, they had their own managers, everything like that. So now we also support with live-in customers.
Goodness, right. That's really nice.
It makes it a lot more personable.
Well,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's like you say, it's like a living companion
Yeah.
because obviously somebody needs. Is that because, and again, forgive me, I don't want to sound disrespectful, but is that because of the loneliness or is it literally that customer does need 24
It
by
can be
7?
either
Right.
or. And it's just an alternative to a nursing home. So they may be the fact that they're at that level where they need 24-hour care,
Yeah.
but they still want to stay at home.
Because the majority of our customers have to have quite a large degree of independence to be by themselves because we may only go in once a week,
Yeah.
once a day. I think the most that we support a customer is 4 times a day.
Right.
So obviously in them other times, they're potentially by themselves. So they have to have a level of independence. However, as people age,
Yeah.
their mobility goes down and things like that. And that's when the families start looking at decisions
Yeah.
whether the person needs to go in a care home, but we now can offer the alternative of we can provide a care assistant to live in, so that person can still remain in their home.
No, absolutely. And as you say, if it's 4 times a day, then obviously that's on the morning. You make sure that they're okay. You know, my father, God bless, he's 81 next year. He's got a massive independence at the moment and has told us currently there's no way in cat's hell that he's going to go into a care home. But obviously those are the things that myself and my wife, we've got to make those decisions at some point. But he is very independent. At 81, he's still got mobility, still wants to do himself, quite happily sits there on his Xbox playing golf, you know. But that's a great thing from your point
Sometimes people, a lot of customers are not receptive to receiving support because of their independence. And I think there's a bit of a stigma around home care as well. I think people believe that you go in and you do everything for people and you take away all their independence.
Right, so reading your website, you can remain in the comfort of your own home. It's got a tick next to Helping Hands. It's like a tick box thing. You've got full control over your mealtime and preferences. You one-to-one, 24-hour care from your dedicated carer, obviously depending on your requirements. You can continue with your preferred life cycles and routines. Your friends and family can visit as much as they like. But I think you're right. And it's like, some people might go, why have you put that on there? It's because people think that it's like lock and key. You're locking somebody away. And it's not. You're just offering some extra support. Having worked sports development, we did a lot of different programs where we were going into things like Age UK and various, you know, and the importance of, you know, people, like you see people that have the routines, love the routines.
Yeah.
But
obviously when they're looking to get care, they sometimes think that can compete with that in terms of...
And that somebody will take over.
Yes.
And change the way they do things. One of the things we do with our new care staff is we ask them to tell us what they believe a personal care routine, for instance. So on a morning, what do you think a personal care routine is? And most people say the same thing. So get up, get washed, get dressed, have your breakfast, leave. But then we make them really think about what their routine is on a morning, and it's not that.
No.
You know, everybody has different preferences. You know, it's so important, and this is why when Kate and I do the assessments for new customers, they tell us what they want.
Yes.
You know, really even down to entering a person's home.
Yes.
We say, do you want us to knock and walk in? Do you want us to knock and wait? You know, it goes really down to the nitty gritty of what the person wants.
I think the key thing's in the title, Helping Hands. It's not not taking over home care support.
I don't think that's going to work in a marketing strategy.
Yeah. That is what people think.
No, absolutely.
You know, you really have to, when you do an assessment, you really have to hit it hard, don't you, to make them understand that we're not going to come in, strip them off and...
Chuck them over your shoulder and
get you.
Tuck them in bed and go, see you later.
Yeah, you know, it's all about dignity and respect. And we throw the word around a lot, person-centred care, but it really is person-centred care. We're there to support them. They're not there to, you know, do what we tell them to do.
No, exactly. You know? I do get that. And as I say, I think from my point of view with my father, definitely, you know, he definitely 100% wants his independence, but obviously he does need us around at times to visit him, to say hello. We nipped in last night. How's your day been, Dad? And it's always the same. I've been incredibly busy doing nothing, you know, and he rubs it in because he knows how hard me and Michelle work. But that's what he loves. And every Sunday he comes down for dinner and we treat him from that point of view. So it's lovely.
One of the things Kate and I always focus on, and we normally speak to families about, is we also, it's not just about the customer, it's about their families. We want you to maintain a relationship with your family member as it should be.
Yeah.
And how you want it.
Yeah, because sometimes you can be taking the caring load off the family member so they're not having to care
Sometimes
for someone, right?
children are doing their parents' personal care and things like that.
Yes.
And they're not happy about that. Their parent isn't happy about it. So we can then come in and take that burden away from the family member.
Yes.
So that you can then maintain...
You can go around and have a cup of tea with your mum and dad.
Absolutely.
You know, without worrying.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can focus on the experiences.
Yeah, and we focus really hard as well on consistency and matching customers with care assistants. So when we do assessments, we ask about a person's history, their likes, their dislikes, what jobs did they have and things like that, so that when we come away, we can match them up with a care assistant with the same likes.
Yeah, we sound nosy.
Yeah, we do sound
We sound
nosy
really
when
nosy
we're in
with
their
it.
house. You know, they might say we only want an hour a week cleaning. Why are you asking me all these questions? But you know, we have a really good example of there was a gentleman who loved walking.
Yes.
But he was really lonely, and he liked really specific kind of walks. And we just so happened at the time to have a lady who was in walking clubs and everything like that, a staff member. So we matched them up, and they got on great.
Oh, lovely.
And then what happens is people that maybe thought of us in relation to the stigma of what home care is like, they build a relationship.
Yeah.
You know, some of them, we've just had some feedback recently. The organisation does feedback every year. And some of the customers are saying they're like my family, they're like my friends.
I think that's what it should be like, though, shouldn't it? They shouldn't see you as they're turning up this morning. It should be a case of, oh, hi, kid. Hi, Marie. How are you doing? Yeah, not a problem. How's your day been? You're doing their job, but making them feel relaxed, comfortable. You're not a stranger to them.
Yeah, and because we make sure that people have consistency with the care assistants that go in, they're kind of obviously observing professional boundaries, but they know about each other's life.
Of course.
So somebody can go in on a morning and the customer may say, oh, so how did your son do with his exams? Or,
Yes.
you know, so the relationship is there. And that's really important to us,
It
isn't
really
it?
is. I mean, they even sit down and have a cup of tea with each other. And,
Yeah.
you know, and you think, oh, God, that's a job. That's it. No. It's
Well,
not.
I know
That's
from
part
yesterday,
of-
would you have a cake? Would you have a sandwich? Would you have a tea? And I was like, yes, I will.
You know, especially the ladies, they've been so used to being the hostess.
Well, of course.
You know,
they
they're
are.
so used to, you know, so they're like, oh, would you like a cup of tea? And there's only so many times you can say no.
It's definitely not a healthy
was-
job.
No,
If
I
you're
can
looking after
imagine.
your waistline,
Well,
it's
that's
not
where I
healthy.
was yesterday. I was like,
Cake.
I resisted.
Yeah.
Cake.
I resisted the first three, and they were so lovely. Like, this was the team that worked
Yeah.
there. They were so lovely. They must have made about 10 ton of sandwiches for this event. They poured Prosecco for all the guests that wanted Prosecco, and then they started drinking it, and they're like, whoa, it's for toast.
Yeah.
And some of them shrugged the shoulder, like, I'm just going to continue drinking it. Have you got any more? You know, so, but it was such a great event to be part of. I got to photograph them all as part of it. But in terms of like the importance of continued socialization, because, you know, there is a huge piece on people getting lonely as they age.
And since COVID, it has got worse. From the customers we've been going to see,
Very much so.
you know, recently I went to see a potential customer and they haven't actually been out the house since COVID.
Oh, no.
And also, because people couldn't really go out, we've seen a decline in mobility and things like that. So it's had a huge effect.
And the loneliness.
Yeah.
It's the loneliness out there is.
Yeah, my father's very, very independent to the point where we can be away on either work or holiday, and we've come back and we've not seen him for a week. So we'll nip round and see him, but after 15, 30 minutes, he's like, right, I've seen you now, bugger off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm done now.
Okay, thanks,
Yeah.
Dad.
Because that's what they've got used to.
Well,
That's-
exactly, you know. But he loves to be part of our lives, and he wants to be a part of our lives, even though he hasn't got the mobility at 80. But he still wants to be around. He still comes down every Sunday for dinner, and it's lovely from that point of view.
Yeah, I think for me especially, working on the programs that I worked with at the council, it's always amazing when you get talking to people. I mean, you must have some fascinating stories of what people did. You can keep it anonymous if you've got any to share. But obviously, the level and depth of life that people have had, and it's so important to hear it and
Oh, it's massive.
reminiscence.
It
Like
really
there's a
is.
reminiscence room in the library, for example, which I
Yeah.
think is 1950s, I want to say, but they've got like they've decorated it like that, but they've got loads of books and things like that that are photographs from different eras of like South Park and the town, and it's amazing. They've got like old magazines and old pictures of, you know, like scrapbooks of old pictures and how things looked and things. It's
But
amazing
it's the way
space.
people think. I can ask my father, what did you have for dinner yesterday? Haven't got a clue. Right? What did you do when you first went on board the HMS Ganges? Ah, right. And he reels off literally like, you know, the whole day. And I'm like, and you can't remember what you had for dinner yesterday.
And this is why we concentrate so much on a person's history.
Yes.
So, and what we find is with a lot of our customers, because they do tend to be elderly, is a lot of them have been in the forces of some kind. So when Kate and I a lot of the time we'll go together.
Right.
To do the assessments, because I'm the more formal one. With the terms and conditions.
And I'm going to put the kettle on.
Yeah, exactly. Kate's the friendly one. Not that I'm not friendly.
No, I know.
But my background is Army and Kate's background is RAF. As in, I was brought up in the Army and Kate was married into the RAF.
Yeah.
So that always gets the majority of the customers talking.
I can imagine
Definitely.
it does.
And again, we try and match people up, personality matching.
Yeah.
So it is very, very important to find out. I recently met a customer who was very unreceptive to receiving support.
Well, again, yeah, I can appreciate that.
But I started talking about his time in the Army, and he told me that he was a trainer and everything like that. So we actually then spoke to the care assistant before they went in and said, you really need to focus on his back, ask him about it. And now they're like best friends.
Oh, again,
because
lovely.
they don't see it as support. They see it as somebody that they know coming around, a bit of companionship. And, the care assistants will say, you put your feet up and I'll make you a cup of tea.
Yes.
Could say a helping hand.
Yes, they could.
Have you ever thought about working in marketing?
I've done a very good job with the name, is all I can say.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It's important to build in everything. It's important to build that rapport, but also in the industry that you're working with, and you never see the stories in the news that go, this care home did really well. It's always so the problem we have by the nature of our media and what triggers news
So we think negatively
is
of
you
it.
can, if there's been a recent piece, then you get tainted with the same.
Well, of course you do, and unfortunately, about 4 or 5 years ago, I spoke to a friend who works in the media industry about newspaper, and he went, people having a nice day and the sun shining doesn't sell newspapers, Andy.
It's all
so
about
what you
clicks.
do is you sensationalise, and we all do it. When you're on, I'm at the moment, the website is full of BBC News is like, shock horror story, because you click on it and then actually it doesn't turn out to be a shock.
The nice side of it is an event like yesterday will get good coverage that I did,
absolutely.
but that's because of all the other darker stories.
Trends,
but in terms of big national news, it's never like this care home did really well, or this care support agency, or so I think the problem is sometimes people hear that, and this is the same with any industry.
But it's really hard to sing your success, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's really hard to
Plus I can't sing.
I'm sure
That's why it's hard for him to sing it. But yeah, it is. You're absolutely right in terms of doing it, and also you're entering someone's home.
Yeah.
You're making a cup of tea with their kettle.
Yeah.
They're going to trust you.
Their cups. Yeah, absolutely. It's important to build that. And I think what I love about the way you're talking about it is the focus on the person and the rapport. Like that's just evident to see from the pair of you talking about it.
Definitely.
But yeah, and also so it's regulated.
Some people are.
Some people are.
Yeah.
Okay, so explain what that is all about.
So if a person receives support that falls under one of the regulated activities with CQC govern us, and they have a list of regulated activities, and the one that we are under is, they call it personal care.
Right.
So what that means is if a person receives any kind of support from us in relation to personal care, that can even be cutting fingernails, putting socks on, tying shoes, then they fall under the regulation.
Sounds like being a parent at the moment. It's like you're describing my week.
But also, if a person requires support with nutrition, that could be if somebody may have a peg.
Yeah.
Or if you need to physically support somebody.
If we didn't do it, they wouldn't survive. That's what.
So you've got to physically support somebody.
So I would say it was half and half with our customers. Yeah. Maybe slightly more. We have more regulated.
Yes.
On a whole, we are regulated by.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's just that some of the customers fall under them regulations.
Yes.
Some do, some don't.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. I think it's important to understand that, though, right? Because it's not just you're not just throwing anyone in there. You're not just doing it in any old way. You're making sure that you're following due process and making sure that you're doing it safely enough.
Talking about processes, then, in order for one of your care assistants that you obviously hire to go and do, what kind of training do they have to go through? What's their background? Are they regulated? Do they have to have all of the checks, whatever it may be?
Okay. So They do have to have checks, but it's not really regulated as such like the customer is. So the process is, obviously, a person will apply via Indeed. We will invite them in for an interview, but it's very kind of informal, I would say. It's more of a chat, but part of the recruitment process is also an assessment day.
Right.
So we kind of assess the person's knowledge on things like safeguarding, medication, moving and handling, that kind of stuff. And then from that, a person, if they were happy and we were happy, would be offered a position.
Right.
And then the checks that we do, we DBS checks.
Yep.
So we check if a person's got a criminal history and references from previous employers. That's
it really for the check side of things.
That's for the recruitment.
That's a recruitment thing. We don't. Not all of our carers have to come. Our carers don't have to come with us with experience.
Yeah. Some of the best carers we've ever had are people without
I'm going to use the
employment.
line. I am going to use the line.
I'll let you use the line. Go on then.
What I always say is I can teach anybody to give care.
Yeah.
Practically give care. The one thing you cannot teach somebody is to care.
Yeah.
So we go on values.
Sorry, hang on, let that sit for a minute.
That's lovely. That is.
I love that.
A warm glow.
That to a marketing guy, that is.
It's about values.
Yes,
you
very
know, a
much
person can have been doing a job for 30 years, doesn't mean they're very good at it.
No, because they don't care about it.
Sorry, I'm just digest. I love that. So, because you go in, you've got your list. Need to do my list.
Yeah.
But you can't go in and just do your list. Because if you just focus on the list, you're not caring, you're not looking. I love that.
It is very good, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. You're very good.
And I mean,
we use this in our orientation.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because once they've then been recruited, then they would come in here and we do what we call an orientation day. So they spend a couple of hours with the branch team.
Yeah.
There's
Lots of training and lots of information being given to them. Then they get to do some shadowing with some of the other care assistants. And then after that, they're good to go, but they don't get chucked out into the wilderness by themselves. For their first couple of calls that they're doing independently, one of the branch team goes because we do things that we call direct observations.
Right.
So we're just kind of checking that all of the training that they've had and everything like that has settled. And then after that, then they're good to go.
No, but I think that's really important because there's loads of things that somebody may think they are doing correctly, but a third person looking inwards may have, and it's always very difficult because nobody can take criticism very well, but very good, but what I notice if that person is as good as you say they are and they care, thank you for that feedback, fine, that makes them a better person and a better carer.
Absolutely. And it's things like medication administration. We all know how to take medication or
you
give
open
somebody...
the mouth, force it and shut it up and open it.
No.
All right.
No, that's how we do it. No.
That's the wrong way to do it.
You fail the direct observation.
There's the door.
I'll stick to my IT job.
So, but there's so many rules and regulations around it that a person may think they know how to do it. But that's why they have all the training. That's why they have the direct observations.
And more training and more direct jobs.
Regular one-to-ones, team meetings where we talk about... I mean... We send an email to all the staff every Friday, and we call it the Friday email.
Yeah.
And it's with updates, and also we talk about medication and things like that. But one of the reasons we do it is it's a very lonely job.
I can imagine.
Most of them, 95% of them are lone working by themselves. So we need to make sure that we are in constant contact with them.
They still feel like part of the
are.
team.
Well, absolutely. I get
but
that.
keep everybody updated. But it isn't just about formal emails and stuff like that. Sometimes it's, how are you doing?
Yes.
How did your son do in his GCSEs?
Yeah.
Making a person feel valued. As an organisation, it's not... Well, no. As a branch...
Yes.
We believe, the saying that the customer is at the centre of everything. We agree with that, but we also place our care assistants next to them.
Yeah,
they're at the centre
right.
of everything. Because Kate and I are not out in public providing support, the carers are. Yeah. So we need to make sure that we value them, treat them correctly, give them all the tools they need to do their job to the best of their ability. So you know, where the customers are up here, so are the carers, you know.
I can't emphasise how strong that is. We've recently applied to get an apprentice. He starts next week. And what I found over my years, 20 years in Resilient and years in business, but what I
was
found,
3.
what I found is that when I'm talking to the apprentices and asking them, now bearing in mind a little scenario, you are phoning into Resilient to have your computer looked at, yeah. Obviously, when you explain to me the problem, I could be on the phone. Yeah, not a problem, Annemarie. Let me remotely connect and figure that out. What I say to my apprentice is, 2 or 3 seconds of silence is deadly, because Annemarie's on the other end of the phone going, well, I can see him moving around, but I have no idea what he's doing. And I say you've got to build up a relationship with that customer. So I was on the phone call to a customer yesterday, and he was literally, as I'm writing away, I'm saying, oh, you've just come back off holiday from Portugal, haven't you? How was it? Now, they're obviously then, it was wonderful, we went this. In the background, now I'm going, fix. But I'm making that end customer feel so relaxed.
And valued.
And
They
they're not
know
a number.
you care.
Yeah, they're not just a number.
No.
You actually know something about them.
And I say that exactly to most of my customers. I'm not only their customer, I try and go, all right, so when I got a brand new customer, I do tend to sit with them for a good hour on the phone. So, you know, what do you do outside of work? Oh, I do walking, you know, my son and stuff like that. So what you were saying there resonated with me, Annemarie, because I'm constantly doing that. And yes, I might need some little pointers when I'm ringing up Annemarie. I'm like, son's called Ben. Right, so, and how's Ben doing? And again, what you're saying to me, I've heard from the customer where they've just gone, the fact that you even ask, Dandy, that to me is just, it's worth its weight in gold.
Sometimes it's the little things,
It is, isn't
it? You know, and I know I'm reverting back to the care staff, but even a text on their birthday, happy birthday.
Absolutely.
Or if somebody's unwell, yes, we've had the phone call to say you can't come to work, but what about a couple of days later giving them a call? How
Absolutely.
you doing?
How you doing? How you feeling?
And we as a branch focus on that before a person has even started working with us, because we have processes in place where so we need to contact somebody within a day of them applying, you know, and we need to make them feel valued from the first phone call that they've had. So we reply to them with emails, we give them calls. My own personal experience is I've never experienced a recruitment process like the one that I had when I came here.
Yes.
You know, from the minute of applying, I was getting emails saying, I can't wait to meet you. I was thinking, that's nice, you know.
Well, they obviously didn't know you then.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
They sharp learned.
Yeah.
You set him up for that one, I'm sorry.
So, it's just so important for both customers and care assistants to be people, to be individuals.
No, I get that. So, Kate, because obviously you coordinate and things like that.
Yeah.
What do you use? Obviously, tech a break. So, technology-wise, what do you use to coordinate things?
Here we go. Here we go. It's something called, we could use something called Access.
Right.
And everything's linked into everything.
Yeah, well, it has to be, doesn't it?
Big Brother is out there, bless them. Everything is watched. I've never known what they use as well, really. The roster, it's something called People Planner.
Yeah.
It's massive. But People Planner will then link into Care Planning links into something else, and it all goes to head office.
I must say, how on earth do you there's got to be some technology behind it, because you've got to keep the records of the carer, you've got to keep the records of the customer, the roster.
Everything is digital.
Even,
the times are gone where the care assistants go in and fill in.
Absolutely.
Everything's done on their phones.
It's done on an app on their phone. But also, it means that the customer can access it as well. And if they give consent, if they're able to, their family can access it. Yeah. So, if a lot of people live away from their family.
Yeah.
So, some of our customers might have family in London, but they can log on remotely and see how their Father's Day's gone. Lovely. If they were worried about them eating or things, nutrition-wise, they can go on.
And it's live, so as soon as that carer's clicked submit, they can go straight on and see.
The care assistant, as they are feeding or helping, making a cup of tea, I'm not saying they report absolutely everything, but are they literally, just fed Annemarie?
How it works is after we've done an assessment, there's a list of tasks.
Right, okay.
So it might say nutrition. Ask Bob what he would like for his lunch. He normally likes things that are light.
Yes.
Or something like that. So quite person-centred.
Of course.
More person-centred than that. And then when they've done that, they tick each task.
Yeah.
But then they write a good paragraph about, so they might say, Bob was in great spirits today. He was reminiscing about the war and he was smiling and laughing a lot. He ate all of his lunch, but he did leave a little bit of his cake.
Adam will have it.
Yeah.
I like Bob's lunch.
and then they might say, I've left a note for the family on the side regarding medication that's required.
Yeah.
Like, it's quite in-depth.
I can imagine.
But yeah, I mean, we have had to reduce some people.
Yeah.
Some people were writing kind of War and Peace.
You learn to type quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like, that must be a challenge, getting people to buy into writing, because record keeping, it's always hard work. It's always hard work, record keeping.
We have all the systems and the audits and the analysis tools in place to be able to monitor that.
Absolutely.
And they've made it quite simple.
Yeah.
Like the carers will log in, and we've even got like location and everything, so we know what time the carers have logged in, where they've logged in.
Yeah.
Which helps for our audits, obviously. It's, but then they can't, everything is on there, but they can't then end that call until all of it's been completed.
Yeah.
So it kind of simplifies it all because you can't move on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I think what I'm hearing is that I don't think, if I'm bold enough to say, I don't think any of your carers feel as though that's a monotonous task because of what you said. They care. So they're actually just going, this is just part of the job. I fed Bob his meal, he did this, and you will get a modicum of people that like War and Peace. Yeah. Some people are too short, but that's what you're saying, Kate, where you will just advise a little bit more writing, please, or like, can you ease off on the War and Peace? I got bored after page 5. So, again, in terms of that.
I think the fact that, like you say, if people like the kids, the children, or the adult children, could be living in London, obviously, want to see, it's good because you're showing your service. It's like, how do you represent, they go, how do we know you've been in and done this?
Well, they're not hiding anything.
Yeah, there's not hiding. It's completely clear, transparency.
They can see support plans, they can see everything.
And they can then be involved.
Yes.
So, when because they've got access, they can say, oh, no, that didn't happen with my dad, or can you add this in?
Yeah.
So it's like partnership working with the customer at the centre and their family. The family know the customer better than us.
Well, absolutely.
So as long as the customer gives consent is huge.
Oh,
so as long as they give permission and consent, we can build the care plan with the customer. But it always grows organically. When we do an assessment,
never stays the same. Ever.
We have about 2 hours, but that can be quite overwhelming for people. So we just have to get the bare bones.
Yeah.
So it might be that we make the person a cup of tea.
Yeah.
However, after a week or so, we will then contact the care assistant and say, do they have a specific cup? How many sugars do they have? Do they like a bit of water in it? Do they like it full
Where
to
they
the
keep
brim?
the spoons, literally.
And then we can bulk it up because we don't ever want a care assistant to go into a customer's house. They're only going in for half an hour and say, where's your milk? Where's your spoons?
No.
How do you like your cup of tea?
Yeah.
We want them to be able to go in and know that person.
There's your tea, just how you like it.
But we can never get all of that information in an assessment,
No,
otherwise
we
we'd be there
can't.
for about 3 days.
No,
It'd
exactly.
kick us out.
The cup thing's a really good point.
I tell you what.
When you open, here's a question to you guys. When you open your cupboard on a morning for a cup of tea, is there a certain go-to cup that you go to?
Always.
And if that cup's not there, your next go-to, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Even in our office, I have the biggest pink cup. I like 2 spoons of coffee. Everybody, again, it's
Stirred
about
3 times clockwise, 1 time anti-clockwise.
Yeah.
Oh, you know that?
I mean,
And then on Friday, a splash of
people
gin.
say I'm structured, but So, it is really important to us.
But I can see how that's also important to the family members.
Yeah.
It's important to your actual end customer.
Mm-hmm.
And as I say, I would like to, you've already said it, the care assistant almost becomes part of the family.
Yes.
And they
that's
really do. They really do.
Kind. Can I ask the range of age? I mean, what's your youngest person?
Of customers?
Yeah, please.
until very recently, I would have said 95% were 80 plus.
Right.
In fact, it probably still is about 95%.
Yeah.
But the majority of our customers were 80 plus.
Right.
There has been a change over the past couple of years. People are waiting longer for support.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the cost of living or people are healthier for longer. I don't know. But I would have said 80 plus.
Right.
We've had somebody who was 101,
Yeah.
didn't
Oh, my
we?
goodness.
And he had a fly passed by the RAF and everything. It was lovely.
Fabulous.
And then we every now and then would have a couple of customers that maybe had an illness, maybe a stroke, and they were in their 60s. We now, because we can support anybody.
Of course you can.
You know, with kind of
Anyone 18 plus. isn't
18
it?
plus.
Yeah.
And we now have a couple of younger people that we support. We have one who is early 22.
Got one that's 20.
One who's 20.
And one that's 28.
Right.
And we've got a couple in the 40s.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, you know, it was predominantly elderly people.
Yes.
Maybe with elderly related conditions
I can
and
appreciate
dementia and
that.
things like that. We're now branching a little bit into people that may have learning disabilities or brain injuries and things like that.
Because quite honestly, you can care for anybody.
Yes.
I'm thinking of hiring you and just caring for me.
We also
Michelle does
have
that.
clinical nurses in the organisation.
Yes.
So we're able to provide some care that maybe other organisations are not.
Yes.
So, for instance, Kate and I are trained to train our staff in things like administering eye drops, inhalers, pressure injuries and things like that. But then we have clinical nurses that if a person maybe needed peg feeding, or going to need you to chuck some more out there.
Trackies, we do breathing.
Right, yeah.
Right, okay, yeah.
I do think they've moved away slightly from trackies.
But they have, but they still do. We've still got them out there.
And
haven't
it's
we?
things mainly that we need specialised training in, but we are able to do it.
Yeah, even down to people with epilepsy who need certain medication.
Yeah.
It's called buckle.
Buckle midazolam,
certain medication. Our clinical nurses will teach our carers how to do that, and we do. We've done that, haven't we?
Okay.
I love it. I think the level of variation that you obviously see on a day-to-day basis, and I think it's obviously very broad. But to me, talking about the tea and the coffee and all, it is the little things.
Absolutely.
And
If
it's
we
how you
even
scale
know
that.
what how somebody likes their tea, we're there. I'm sorry, but
If you said that to
half
someone
the
in the
battle.
street, though, they
They
would
would
be
just-
like,
what?
you know, what is that?
It's the old cup holder adage in the car, isn't it?
Yeah.
Get in the car, nice car. Has it got a cup holder? Sold. Like you know, that sort of jokey kind of
we're
mentality.
always winning,
but
honestly.
it is,
If somebody has their cup of tea, you're winning.
yeah, if you get it right.
Fine. So how long has Helping Hands been going? As not just your branch.
Since the 80s.
1989 in Warwickshire.
Hey, who said the
1999.
website?
Was it 89 or 99?
89.
89 in Warwickshire.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's been
Started
pretty-
as a
that's
family business.
It did, at a kitchen table.
Mary Lee, bless
Yeah,
her.
Mary Lee.
Right, okay.
Decided that maybe the care in the area wasn't what she wanted.
Yeah.
So, she
Decided
started
you
it at
can't
our
beat 'em,
kitchen
join
table.
'em.
Well, no, absolutely. So how many? You're in the office. There's 4 or 5 of that.
Yeah.
Is there any more? I mean, as your customer base grows, obviously your carers grow, but you must keep a tight ship in the office because, obviously, as you say, all of your carers are independent. But eventually, there must come a tipping point where you need more admin staff, more staff.
There are specific numbers. It kind of goes on the hours that the branch has.
Right.
So the collated hours. And once you reach them milestones, then you're able to get another branch team member.
I've got you. Right. Understand.
That's a good word.
That,
yeah.
no, I think
yeah.
I think as Annemarie said, it's growing organically. But since 1980, whatever, the whole Helping Hands industry business must get to a point where you go, I now know because they've got X number of customers, they need this number of staff.
Yeah.
And they also don't allow, I mean, there are some organisations where the branches have like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 hours of support a week.
Yes.
Helping Hands won't allow that.
No.
So, I think they have a cut-off, which I think is probably between 1,000 and 1,500 hours. Then they open a new branch. And that's how
Because
Darlington
you lose that personal
started.
touch. You get too big. people start turning into numbers, and that's not what we're about.
So it could be that Darlington grows to a point that there's another branch, but not in Darlington, but you'll just...
They may move to... They may find that...
Newton Aycliffe or something like that.
And that's what I'm saying. So that would be the Newton Aycliffe branch.
Yeah.
That would help reduce some load off you, but you share it and then move on.
Yeah, so that's how it kind of worked. We had a Newcastle branch, and then they opened a Cramlington branch.
Right.
You know, so... but Darlington, it'll be a while before we stopped growing. We have been very slow and steady.
Yeah.
But that's good, because that means that we have a stable base.
We've grown with it, haven't we? I think we're really lucky. We've been really lucky that we've grown slowly, so we've been able to take everything on board slowly.
I think as well.
I think everyone in business thinks that you've got to rush it and do
Absolutely not.
And it's like, actually, in fact, well, I've certainly taken my time with Hubspoke. You know, I had a young family when I set up and things like
definitely.
that. You've been going 20 years.
20 years this year.
You know, we're 9 next week.
You're not just 9, you're older than that.
Yeah, I know. Mentally, I am. No, but the company's 9 next week. But I think there's a lot to be said for knowing your craft.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fine-tuning your craft.
Yeah.
Be good at what you're good at.
Yeah, and
we
then,
have always
and
been
then
the
establishing
smallest of the local branches.
Right.
And we've been very careful of the customers that we've taken on and the ones that we haven't, because we want to provide the same level of support to all of our customers.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if we were a little bit short-staffed and a customer came to me and said, I want 100 hours a week, then maybe some people would say, okay. We wouldn't if we couldn't provide the support. We're not going to kind of make the decision and then worry about how we're going to do
then
it.
try and retrofit it into
because then you're not going to get very good quality. You're going to get different care assistants, different times, and things like that. But I think the thing that's evident is because me and Kate walked into an empty room upstairs with a couple of laptops.
That was literally
desks.
Yeah. You had a pull-up banner, I think, didn't you?
We didn't even have that in the beginning. But it means so much to us. It feels like it's ours.
Of course.
You know, it feels like we have set it up, but we feel like it belongs to us.
Yeah.
Right.
We might be a little bit passionate.
A little bit. And
it doesn't come across.
We've never had that before. I've never had that, because normally when you go into a new job, you're replacing somebody else. There's already a workplace culture there and things like that. Here, me and Kate walked in and we said, right, how do we want to do it?
Yeah.
I mean,
and we were able to
do
set
Helping
it from the
Hands
beginning.
give you a structure, but do they just literally off you go? I mean, obviously the access and everything.
Yeah.
They give you the tools.
They give us the tools,
But
and
it must be down
have
to you to get the customers.
Yes.
Yeah,
But there is
definitely.
help. I mean,
course
we have
there
a
is.
support office, we have marketing teams, and if anybody's struggling, so for instance, we're struggling with recruitment in Northallerton.
Right.
So they leave you to do it, but if you're struggling and you ask for help,
Reach
they
out,
will
yeah.
then
Of course.
kind of support us with whatever we need.
I can understand that.
But there's a lot of autonomy.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we're the same as everywhere else. We have policies, we have KPIs and things like that. But so, for instance, in relation to marketing, we found that one of the best ways for us in Darlington is leafleting.
And podcasting.
And podcasting now, absolutely. So we've tried lots of different ways to get our name out there.
Yeah.
And leafleting was actually the one
Well,
that got us the most
and
customers.
that's the thing. A lot of people rule out leaflets in
they
the modern
shouldn't.
day, and I'm like, but it's all you're trying to reach people in their home that want to stay in their home.
Yes.
Absolutely.
A well-timed leaflet on the right day of the week, you know, is really well suited. And I always, because people are always like, oh, you just do socials, or you just do.
No.
I'm like, no, it's about looking at what's out there and the best way of doing it. And
It took us a
agree.
while though to get it. I mean, in the beginning we did a radio,
Oh gosh, yeah, we did.
like an advert, and we were so excited. You know, we thought it was going to be like Radio 1. And,
Exactly.
and it wasn't. It was like a digital one. And then we realised afterwards that maybe a lot of our customers that we were trying to reach might not have been able to hear it.
Yeah.
No.
You know, so it did take us a while, didn't it? But in the past 6 months, something has happened. I feel like we are now recognised in Darlington, as in a lot of our customers are coming from word of mouth.
Yeah.
you know, we've got.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love it.
We've got the reviews and everything. So it's a little bit like, yes, we're here now, but it has taken quite a
Will
while.
that always take you?
You are just mirroring what a number of clients I've been working with have been saying.
Yeah.
So we've got one that started with us in it was like August, September time. We've been it was September, been chipping away, and he walked in the other week and he went, "It works." He went, "I don't know what bit it is that works, because but there is a feeling with the marketing when you're getting that recognition and brand recognition, it does gear change, and you can't just say it's a one piece of social media. No. It's another. It's because you've been banging out the social media consistently. Your website's up to date and maintained.
Yeah. You're getting reviews.
You're getting reviews. You've got people in going and doing the work. There's no magic wand to it.
There isn't.
You're then leafleting.
Yeah.
You've tried radio, didn't work. We go again. So the thing is, it's constantly. Marketing's all about consistently showing up.
I was going to say consistency.
All it is. Word of mouth will always be your best referral.
Yeah.
The problem is you have to wait for that.
Yeah.
It does.
So for us, up until kind of around about September of last year, would only have around about one new customer assessment a week.
Right, okay.
Some weeks we'd have none.
Right.
It's 5+ a week now.
Yeah.
And this has only happened kind of since the back end of last year. And we've gone, I feel like it's worked. Everything that we've done marketing-wise, people have heard of us now. But that includes kind of hospitals and discharge teams and, people that are looking for domiciliary care companies.
Yeah.
But think of it as friendships, right? You don't just walk into, say, a cafe, meet someone for the first time. Like me and Andy, we'd see each other downstairs multiple times. Hello, hello, this, that, and the other. And then one day I was like, my email, I'll get Andy to migrate it. That'll be taken care of. And he went, actually, we need some help with socials. So then we started talking. Then we started doing this sort of chat about tech. Yeah. Just when we were like fixing something or whatever. And then we're like, why don't we just record the chat but take it into another thing? So you never just sort of build a friendship like that. It's the same with business and reputation.
I've said it before when I very first went into business, and I'm sure I've repeated it, but I'll make it very quick. I always remember sat in a room, a gentleman went up to somebody and went, "What's your name?" "Kate." "Where are you from?" "Helping Hands." "Great." "What's your name?" "Annemarie." "Where are you from?" "Helping Hands." "Where are you from, Adam?" "Hubspoke Media." "Right, fine." Went off and he went, "Sorry, Adam, where are you?"
Hubspoke.
"Thank you." Went round the room again and then went, "Sorry?"
Hubspoke.
"Hubspoke Media," with that. And at the end of it, he went to somebody completely random and he went, "Who's this?" And they went, "I have no idea." "Who's that?" "It's Adam from Hubspoke." And he said, what you have is in any business length, you have to have your name repeated over the years 6 or 7 times before somebody goes, "That's Adam from Hubspoke." You've reached that cusp.
Yeah.
Everybody's now going, "Oh, hang on, Helping Hands." Because everybody's known it. And the problem is, everybody nowadays, and I think this personally, everybody's like, "Oh, I've got a website. Why isn't it ranking high in Google?" It's been live for 3 months. "Oh, I expect it." No.
Yeah.
Get out there. Have you been
They want
talking
it
about
immediately
it?
done
Yes.
there.
They can't
And I guess
do
we
that.
did as well.
We did.
And I know we can't, but
We all do.
We all do.
It's okay to
Yeah.
want it. It's not a problem to want it. Part of the problem is with marketing, you either invest heavily, and that accelerates the process.
Of course it does.
Or you have to be more organic, and that takes longer.
Yeah.
So it's a question of, do you have the money to apply into your marketing, and you can then build that very quickly, or do you not have that and you've got to go down the organic route? Last week, golf day, I was photographing the golf day for a company, and there was a guy I played rugby with years ago, and I mean years ago, and he went, "How's the podcast going?" I was like, How what? I was like, I haven't seen you in ages. How do you know? He goes, "The podcast is looking like the podcast stuff's going well, isn't it? He looks good." I was like, "How do you?" Well, he caught me off because I was like, I wouldn't expect you to know about it, but he does, and it's because things get shared, people see it, and I was like, "How has he seen that?" Because I don't think he's. And then I've gone, "Oh no," because he knows some of the people. Do you know that power of connection?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So he knows some of the people that have been on through the studio, either whether it be our podcast or whether it's Our Darling Town, for example, because they're in here and they've featured various people. They featured the girls and ladies rugby teams in, did like an interview thing. It was great. So then like it gets sent, and now I've had other people go, "Oh, you're the podcast guy," so that's what happens. But but they're not looking for a podcast, but they're just aware of it.
Yeah.
So a big part of it is awareness, and it's so important to do. For me, I'm just going to say, before we go on to the last question, last one, is, I'm just going to say it again. We could teach people to care, but we can't teach them to care.
I love that. I want to ask probably, it might be a contentious question, but I don't want it to be. When you were saying that you carefully pick your customers in terms of sitting down and understanding them, is there a point where you go, we can't care for you?
There has been.
Yeah.
If we believe that we couldn't support them safely. So somebody may say, we would like half an hour on a morning, and in that time, we would like you to support us with getting up, getting bathed, having my medication, having my breakfast, and they big long list. And we'd, so we would then say, I'm really sorry, we wouldn't be able to do that in that time.
No.
But also in relation to illness or conditions, if we went to see somebody and we believed that they were unsafe at home, even with us going in, we would speak to the family and we would have a duty of care to pass that on. So
you've just got to risk assess all the time.
Yeah,
and that's what I was
constantly risk assessing. But even in the assessment, that's what we're doing. So I did an assessment yesterday, and I kind of went to make a cup of tea with a gentleman, but at the time I'm watching how he was moving with his walking frame.
Yeah.
And then I'm checking rugs. So it's all kind of part of it. But they're most of the time that happens after we've started supporting somebody, as a person's maybe illness has progressed.
Yeah.
So if we may start supporting somebody who's at the very onset of dementia, for instance, and they're quite safe, they just need a little bit of support. Excuse me. And what happens is their support package, again, like Kate said, grows organically.
Yeah.
So they might start with half an hour a day. As time goes on, we might then go in at lunchtime, tea time, bedtime, but it will then get to the point that we're worried about their safety when we're not there.
Meetings.
I get that, and that's what I was trying to get across, because I feel as though, I always go back to a point when I was in business very early on, and you'll have been the same, Adam. Somebody asks you to do something, yes, absolutely, yes, bend over backwards, yes, I'll just do it. And eventually you get to an age in both your age and yourself and the business, whereas somebody asks you to do something and I go, let me assess that. I'm very careful now, and I go, I'm sorry, I can't look after you, I can't manage your IT because it's unfortunately in such a mess. Now, I can help you get out of that mess, but it's going to be a lot more complicated than what you thought. Yeah. And I've had it a number of times where I've deliberately gone in and went, sorry, no, I can't do this. Here's how to get out of it, but unfortunately it's going to cost you a lot more money, but I'm not prepared. Why would I take on that?
Well, that's what we do. We do go with alternatives for people where we can. For instance, Kate struggles a little bit more with this. If Kate went to an assessment and they said, I would like night shifts every night, and we didn't have the staff. Kate is so empathic and takes on people's emotions and things like that, that her initial reaction was, yes, and I'll do it.
Yeah.
So this is why we go together.
Yeah.
You know.
She
Brilliant.
So, but we have learned that we know we want to help people, but if we took that package of care on, who is going to do it? We're not going to give them a
and
very...
we weren't helping them in the end.
No, you wouldn't be helping
You'd be
them.
providing a subpar service. So you have to kind of say the no, as sad as it is, or because it's not just business. We have to have half a business brain and a half a caring brain.
No, you do. 100%.
It's not just about money and hours or anything like that.
I always say, and my good friend Eddie, who works with us, he's always had a good saying, and I've always kept it. He said, never ever over-promise and under-deliver.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're doing a half sub job. And when I'm back to when I'm teaching the apprentice, stuff like that, I'm always cautious now, because if you ask me if I can do something, what I will say is I'm not sure, but let me take that away. Yeah. I'm not disappointing you, but if I come back and say no, I've reviewed it and I'm really sorry I can't do it. If I'd have just said, yes, I can do that, and then I have to go back and say no, that's a really much more difficult thing to say. I'm not sure, Anne-Marie. Let me get back to you.
Yeah. I hear this regularly from Kate. Sometimes people are wanting additional hours or things like that. And Kate, I already know what would come out of my mouth is we haven't got that.
Absolutely.
But Kate will say, let me have a look at it.
Yes.
And then she'll go back to them with, if we haven't got that, if somebody wants 9 o'clock in the morning, but we've got 10, we're saying, I'm sorry, we haven't got that, but we have got this if you want it.
And that's the great thing about the business. And I think a lot of business people can learn about that.
Well, going back to what we were saying about word of mouth as well, you know, if we overpromise and underdeliver, that's going to get out there as well.
Of course it is.
And then people are not going to be talking about how amazing we are and things like that.
Our job is trust.
Yes.
No, absolutely.
We have to be honest.
It would come out as if we were lying. You
Yeah.
know, that's how it would be perceived. If we promise something that we can't deliver,
No.
then you've broken that
Adam
trust,
taught me
haven't
that
you?
when he was talking to me, Resilient, about marketing. He says, you've got to shout out about your successes, but also, if you had a failure, then learn from that failure.
Yeah.
And it may be that you broadcast that failure, and it's not a failure in such. It's like, well, really hooked up on that one, didn't I? And stuff
Yeah.
like that. But
That's
I think
our lessons learned,
Yeah,
isn't it?
as an organisation, they're huge. They want
Absolutely.
us to share things that we maybe haven't done right. Maybe it's not with the general public,
no.
but, you know, kind of with our colleagues in the organisation and our staff members,
Yeah.
so that we can say, right, we messed up on this, but if we do it, this is what we've learned from it,
And
and,
that's-
we'll do
Yeah,
this
he's
going
gonna do it
forward.
again.
Me and
Yeah.
Michelle had that huge conversation about 3 or 4 years ago that when we did let some customers down, maybe not me, maybe not Michelle, but members of the team, we took a massive decision, and it was bloody hard, where we went, sorry, Mr. Customer, you know, we've let you down on that, we're going to sort it. And then we turned around to maybe, let's say, the person that had failed, and we went, how did me and Michelle let you fail? And
Yeah.
not only does that make the person go, oh, right, it's a problem shared now, but it's
Yeah.
also like, well, how did we let you fail? Was it lack of training? Was it this? Was it that? That gives that person much more confidence to go, well, actually, I felt as though you pushed the job on me, Andy, and didn't give me enough
Yeah.
information. That's
It
fine.
makes them feel
I've learned.
empowered, doesn't it? And safe to challenge.
Absolutely. Well,
That was great.
would you
Do
believe
know-
that's an hour?
Wow.
You said you couldn't talk for an hour.
Yeah, you
Said nobody ever, by the way, about me.
Absolutely.
I have really enjoyed finding out more, and the care comment is the best thing that I'm going to take away from that, because you can apply it. You can teach someone to work, but
You can.
yeah, do the work, care about the work, you know, take care in their work.
Yeah.
But about care, you can actually apply it to wider things. So I love that.
I'm going to take away that feeding tablets like that is wrong.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Stop doing that.
Okay. Sorry, Dad.
Stop doing that. Our last question that we always ask our guests is, what are you doing at the weekend?
I am going out.
Oh, we've timed a good week then, have we?
Yes, well, Saturday it's very sunny, and I'm going out with my colleagues, as in the managers, across the whole of the north.
Oh, wow.
And we are going to a bottomless brunch in Durham.
I'm going to ring you Sunday morning with a hangover. Oh, by the way, and I do have to, how did the wedding go last week? Because I know you couldn't do last week.
Amazing.
Oh, lovely.
Really amazing. And then they got married, and then they went on honeymoon with 8 of their best friends in the cabin.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow, amazing. What are you doing this weekend?
I'm on call.
All right.
Bless you.
But I'm seeing a lot of my grandkids this weekend. It's a grandkid weekend.
Awesome.
Okay.
They're fun.
I know what you're doing.
Yeah, what am I doing?
You're at Team Luke Funding Raising Day with
Yeah,
me.
family fun day tomorrow.
Oh, I've
Sunday
seen
tomorrow.
that advertised.
Good marketing then, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, we've been doing that. That's it, yeah.
No,
yeah.
I've seen that
So we've-
advertised. There's big things on South Park.
You saw it on the billboard?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
That was our handiwork. So we have been supporting Team Luke
The Tank.
to promote, Tank, or Mark Bell, who runs the
His
event.
nickname's Tank.
Obviously, they lost Luke Bell to neuroblastoma. They asked us to support the event. We've gone on as a sponsor. We're not taking any money for our services. But I'm going to be there photographing people, videoing people. Adam's coming as well. Alina's going to be editing the video next week. So we're going to put videos, photos together. It's going to be a fantastic day. So just an update on that. We've got massive inflatables coming.
Yeah.
Food vendors. We've got rugby matches going on the main pitch.
Where is it?
It's at Blackwell Meadows, just opposite Blackwell Grange Hotel, Darlington Rugby Club. And we've also got paddle tasters available, because Paddle Project UK have come on board and said they'll open up the paddle tennis for people to try paddle for the first time if they want to.
I'm going to go on that one.
So yeah, we've got a great day
Yeah,
planned.
it's going to be
So
great.
I'm
Apparently
there
it's very,
tomorrow.
very sunny.
Yeah, it is.
I've
And
heard a few. I know quite a few people that are actually coming.
yeah, they're setting up today. So I'm going to pop down at some point to get some pre prelim photos. So look on the Facebook, Team Luke or Insta, and you'll see information on there.
So that's going to be good.
You are, thank you very much.
No,
so
nice
yeah,
thing to do.
that's what I'll be doing. And then tomorrow night, I'm going to a 40th as a guest.
Right, not DJ.
Not DJ, DJ as well, you see. But then I've had a phone call from Rich going, any chance you could bring the decks? I was like, I will be celebrating a 40th, but yes.
Yeah,
so
you can
we'll
do
see.
some
Yeah, we
singers
could do.
as well.
Yeah, they've got a band. The band is the main thing. It's just
Yeah.
play some music around. So
lovely.
that's me. Sunday, I just want to relax.
And that's what I'll be
I'm
doing.
going
relaxing.
to, actually, I'm training, cycling. I'll be cycling Sunday,
Any
definitely.
more weighty lossy?
No, it's kind of withheld, but I'm going down belt buckles.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
That's good
belt
fun.
buckle holes. So it's coming. It's coming. It's
you're
going to be
doing well
hard
for
work. What are you
yourself.
doing this weekend?
I'm gonna
Obviously,
be
team lead. We don't need to go around that again, but yeah.
No. So me and Michelle are going to be turning up and doing that, and then Sunday dinner with my father as usual.
Yeah.
But it's going to just be a lovely week, apparently. A lovely weekend. Lots of lovely weather.
Fantastic.
But I'm still wearing heavy shoes because I know the ground can still be a little bit chewed up.
The ground is firm at the
Is
moment. Yeah, the pitches have been watered, but the fields, you'll be fine in.
Yeah.
Everybody, you'll be fine in trainers.
That's what I
Unless it tanks it down. We've got
No.
It's not going to.
It's not going to. No, the
It's
weather's
not
good.
going to.
So, yeah.
Right, just before we leave, how can people find out about you? What's the best way to contact you, get hold of you?
Okay, so there's the website,
Of course.
Helping Hands website. There is also on Google, we're sponsored, I think they call it. So it means we come up at the top.
Sponsored shop, yeah. Social media?
Yes, Facebook. Only Facebook at the
That's all
moment.
right. It's
That's fine.
good for who you're working with.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would have thought, just jumping on, I would have thought Facebook would be the perfect
Yeah.
social platform for you. We were talking to Ollie Graham last week, and he's going on to TikTok because obviously his age range is a lot younger.
Yeah.
I would have thought most of your customers, family, Facebook would be their
Yeah.
go-to.
You don't need to be dancing on TikTok just yet.
Yeah,
An
no.
email
I mean,
address?
they have
Oh,
tried.
Yeah,
we may have,
that.
we may have
Yeah.
done it a couple of times, but
Have
no,
you got,
TikTok's
Facebook.
good.
Have you got an
TikTok's
email
good.
address they can contact you
We
on?
do. It's HVS Darlington, all one word, at helpinghands.co.uk.
Fabulous.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having
Oh,
us.
it's been lovely.
I've really enjoyed
Thank
it. So, enjoy your weekend.
Yeah.
Enjoy
And you.
Enjoy your bottomless brunch.
Yeah,
Enjoy
I
seeing your
will.
grandkids.
Oh,
Yeah.
And I'll see you
definitely.
tomorrow.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Enjoy tomorrow.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.